everyone. Welcome to Otaku Talk. It's me, your boy, your host, OD, and today we'll be reviewing and analyzing chapter 1064 of One Piece. Man, this hoodie is going to hell, but a Nakama got it for me, so I am going to wear this thing till it falls apart. Anyway, I left off last chapter kind of adamant, hesitant about, what was going to happen this chapter in terms of the Law versus Blackbeard fight. And so I can't wait to get into that part of the review. Also, we just get so much more reveals and just really awesome things from Oda. So this chapter was cool. I've just been like, once again, I said this earlier, it's a really good time to be a. Anyway, if this is your first time on my channel or you've been here before but haven't done so already, would greatly appreciate it. You could do me a solid. Like, share, subscribe, hit that button, help a homie out. Thank you. Anyway, without much further ado, let's get into this review. All right, chapter 1064 of One Piece, Egghead Labophase, right? So we start off this chapter with the Heart Pirates versus the Blackbeard Pirates. And honestly, cannot front, this fight went a lot better than I thought. And when I say that, I never thought for a moment it was going to be a complete wash. Like, yes, I made jokes that, like, there's no way in hell the Heart Pirates win. There's no way in hell Law's crew wins this. But I knew, like, this is One Piece. This is Oda. Law stood head to head with, Luffy and Kid against the Yonko. Law directly faced a Yonko that, in my opinion, in my opinion, are way above Blackbeard. I know by the end of the series, I know by the confrontation with Luffy, that Blackbeard is gonna, have some respect on his name. But the fact of the matter is, he doesn't bring that same like fear and respect. He doesn't command that same fear and respect that like I give people like Big Mom, that I give Shanks, that I give Whitebeard, that I give Kaido, right? He's just a devil fruit abuser. He's someone that relies on trickery, deception to get his way. And honestly, that's no problem. I honestly like that about the character. A lot of people, a lot of YouTubers and stuff, you'll hear them say that like Blackbeard is one of their favorite characters, or Blackbeard is like the only real pirate in the series because of the how despicable his actions are and how he like goes about like achieving his objectives. So that's not like what I'm getting at here. But the fact of the matter remains, like, power scaling wise, I've always felt a certain type of way about Blackbeard, which is actually kind of funny because I felt a similar way about Law, because Law isn't someone that's notorious for his hockey. He's not someone notorious for his battle prowess, but he's also someone that you could argue is a devil fruit abuser. He has one of the most OP, pun intended, devil fruits in the entire series, right? So anyway, last review, I was like, I just don't see how the Heart Pirates do this. They literally did fuck all on Onigashima. Let's just keep it real. Let's keep it a buck. Like, they didn't fight anyone major. They only fought, like, the gifters and what have you, right? They weren't really, I don't want to say like beneficial or like contributed, because they definitely contributed. Don't get me wrong, but like it has bothered me for a while, like just the sheer ineptitude of Law's crew. Because at least, like, even Kid's right hand at least was strong enough to fight, one of the Topirapa, right? Was strong enough to, kind of wound Kaido, right? Like that's the level he's at. We have seen nothing. We have seen nothing from Beppo. And then Kid also has, I don't know, the people that look like Sting or whatever. And I'm not gonna say they're strong or weak, but like they do seem on the stronger side, but they didn't really get any real fights. But and then Law has Sachi and Penguin. They haven't really done anything. I think the strongest person that we've seen, besides the fact that maybe we can assume Beppo is strong, we just haven't seen it from him yet, is John Bart, right? So anyway, the fight commences, and these guys actually are about that action. Law immediately gets into action. He's a man of planning, and he tells Sachi and Penguin, get into the water, right? Then he has I don't know what the heck he has Beba do. All I really remember is oh no, he tells Hakugan to take care of the polar tank. Maybe he's the engineer, maybe he's the shipwright, whatever you want to call it for a submarine, but he has him take care of their sub, right? And he goes up and he immediately creates a room and uses amputate on Stronger, immediately severing Stronger's legs, throwing off the weight balance, and like kind of screwing up Blackbeard and Doc Q, right? That was awesome. Now, as you know, amputate is just an ability that Law has that lets him cut people from a certain distance, but it doesn't really wound them. It basically does what Buggy's Barabara fruit does, where it cuts them, but like the pieces are still individually animated and can be like rejoined at any point. So Stronger's not in any real danger, which was very interesting because you would think that like Blackbeard would have like kind of like a like devil fruit meeting with his crew explaining like what devil fruits do. Now there's a lot in the world, so he can't go over all of them, but you would think they're about to fight Law and he would tell them about this ability. And like we've seen, like people around the world have seen Law's ability to amputate and stuff like that. So it was just kind of interesting to me that like Doc Q was a little bit like shocked by like what was going on, right? So while that's happening, Law is not pulling any punches. He's not wasting any time, and he immediately takes out his sword and uses K Room, stabs Blackbeard with it, uses Shock Willie. He is just going all in, all out right now, and I love it. We get to see what the rest of the crew is doing, and we see the likes of Beppo, for example. You see him like this, right? And I had to Google this because I was very curious about, his nature as a polar bear mink, right? Also, I want to get into this with Sachi and Penguin too. But you see Beppo going like this, and you see one of those little like I don't know what to call it, those little star like like some the thing that you always see when Luffy is using observation hockey. Now, do I think Beppo is using observation hockey? I'm not sure because after my research, it looks like bears, whatever, have extraordinary like hearing and stuff. So maybe that's what he's doing, but maybe he's able to fuse his amazing polar bear natural hearing with observation hockey and is able to pinpoint that they are trying to snipe the captain from 3 o'clock, right? So in that moment, John Bart goes over and just becomes basically a meat shield for Van Auger's bullets, right? So that was super awesome. Also, by the way, I can't believe I always start my video with this and I missed it today. The cover story super interesting because we have Van Auger and Alki with Pudding. And then later on we see them in this chapter. And I wasn't sure, but another YouTuber cleared it up for me that like, yes, this is in fact the first time this has happened. I think this is just showing a tremendous shift in the series where now the cover stories and what's happening in the actual like chronology of the series isn't so separate. A lot of times when we see the cover story we kind of have to wonder like when is it happening. Usually stuff that happens in the past and we're going to find out about later, right? Or sometimes it could be concurrent just on somewhere some other side, but it's never been like occurred like at around the I don't well technically it's not occurring at the same time, even though it could because with Van Auger's teleportation powers, who knows how long ago this happened. But anyway, I digress. So thanks to Beppo's superhero hearing, Jean Bart is able to go protect Law while Law is able to focus on Blackbeard. And then we have Sachi and Penguin swimming underneath the water trying to sink Blackbeard's ship. And I was super curious about this. Like they say, don't underestimate people from the frigid North Sea. And I do like this concept. Like Oda, like I respect Oda, and I said this last review too. Like I don't see them winning. There's no way in hell they win. But I do see Oda making it fun. I do see Oda making it creative, and this is definitely what's happening here. Making it fun. He's making it creative, and I do like the idea that okay, they were kind of shitty. They kind of weren't that great on Onigashima, but this is their fucking element. Like we talk about strengths and weaknesses and advantages and disadvantages and stuff. And while surrounded by a body of water, this crew like does their shit. And it does kind of seem that like Law is the only devil fruit user on the crew, so the rest of them can swim. There's a big theory out there that like probably the bane of the Blackbeard crew is going to be the fact that they cannot swim and it's gonna bite them in the ass later. Shanks specifically says earlier in the series, like it's important, like a pirate needs to be able to swim. There's important, like the reason that like a majority of Shanks' crew doesn't have devil fruits is because there is some kind of connection or link towards the One Piece and being able to swim and the end game. So I look forward to that. That's why I think like Oda intentionally has made it so that like Luffy's crew has like a balance of devil fruit and non-devil fruit users. We've seen a million times how like multiple times how their crew has ended up in the water, has ended up in the ocean, and because of certain members of the crew, they're able to be saved time and time again. Like their journey, if they were all devil fruit users, would have ended numerous times, and so Oda has been secretly pushing that to us. So anyway, back to what I was talking about with the Heart Pirates crew. Kind of nice to see them in their natural element, working together. We see Sachi and Penguin underwater. Sachi looks massive. It looks like he has either like inhaled, engulfed a bunch of water, and he comes out and shoots this massive water blast. And it's almost something that makes me think like, yo, are these guys fishmen? But they don't look like fishmen at all. But they do have these giant hats that obscure like maybe any kind of fishman features that they do have. But I do kind of like the idea that they're just humans from the North Sea that just spent a lot of the time in the water and just have like become accustomed to it and have incorporated into their arsenal. So I look forward to learning more about the Heart Pirates, because to be real with you, we don't know shit, and we also never got to see Beppo in Sulong, which honestly is something that has perturbed and bothered me for such a long time, simply because we got to see all these other minks in Sulong during Onigashima. We know that there was a full moon, yet we never got to see Beppo in his Sulong form. It makes me wonder, what exactly is Oda trying to hide? What is he waiting for? What is the purpose? Because there has to be some reason when there's a perfect place to exhibit it in Onigashima and we still haven't seen it, right? So that was awesome. So while they're attacking, the Blackbeard ship, trying to get them to sink and whatnot, um, we go into the ship, and the whoever's watching the brig, or the jail of the ship, is basically saying, "Hey, there's some combat related turbulence. Don't worry about it. Our commanders are awesome. They'll take care of it." And meanwhile, we have Pudding just chilling there, and honestly, she doesn't look shook, doesn't look scared, and she's just like, I'm not worried, and you guys should be worried about Big Mom. And then they're like, yo, your Big Mom is dead. We're actually fighting the person that killed Big Mom. Now, I'm not sure if Pudding actually believes that. I think it's kind of one of those situations where she knows the strength and power and like prestige of her mom, and she's just kind of like, I just don't see it happening. Like if someone told you like, I don't know, like the greatest, just like Superman died, you're gonna be a little bit like, unreceptive to that. You're gonna be a little bit like, you're not gonna take it at face value. And I feel like that's kind of what's happening here. Now, part of me thinks she's cool, calm, and collected because she has faith that her mom's gonna get her, that her brother Katakuri is gonna get her. Another part of me believes that, hey, maybe she's matured since the events of Whole Cake, and now she's just a way tougher person. Like she believes in the people that believe in her and love her. Maybe she's just tough now, and if she has to take the L, if she has to die, if she has to do something crazy to protect her friends and family, going to do it. Or another part of me is like, she's a phenomenal actor. When we first met her, she pretended to be this really sweet thing, but she had this underlying evil under her because of her, not because of her third eye, but like because of just this personality split because of mental and emotional abuse from her mom when she was a child. So part of me is thinking that she's just flexing right now, acting, and this is all just like kind of the opposite of like when she was being cute. Now she's just showcasing her like tough girl, bad girl Riri side. You know what I'm talking about? So very excited to see. how this all culminates. Honestly, I'm very, very curious what would have happened if there wasn't an island nearby. Obviously, that's part of the plot. Obviously, like that's the reason that like I think we're gonna see, Law give Blackbeard some problems, but in the end, there's simply no getting out of this, no matter how you look. The Marines are fully aware that Law is here, fully aware that the Blackbeard pirates are here, and versus the Heart Pirates, and so they're a little blown. I think they also had some plans in the works to either capture Law or capture Blackbeard. Most likely Law, though. But yeah, man, this is interesting. I'm still really really confused though about the line where Silver's O'Reilly said Rayleigh says that he doesn't think that he would be able to take Blackbeard. So I don't know, the power scaling's a little bit wonky right now. Not saying like Oda's messing up. It's just I need more information. Now, we switch back over to Egghead Island, and now we see a severely aged up Luffy, Chopper, and a aged down Juribani and Jinbei. Apparently, they've decided to hide out as themselves, but older and younger versions of themselves to avoid Police Kuma because Bonnie doesn't want them to attack Police Kuma. Basically, the crew explains to Juribani that hey, that's not actually your dad. It's a pacifista, but I don't know. It's just one of those psychological things where she like kind of understands that on some kind of surface level, but it's not something she can do to like raise her hand or see others raise their hand to harm of a vestige of her father, right? Um, they start talking, and basically Jinbei bites the bullet, which I think it's super interesting that it's Jinbei because earlier he was talking about like not being ignorant and saying certain things. And I don't think he's being ignorant here because I think he truly wants to understand. He's like, this is what I've been told. Like as someone that was a warlord that is quite who's elderly that has a lot of information about this world. I was under the impression that he was a tyrant, this out of the other, blah blah blah. And so Joribani immediately is like, my father is no tyrant. And honestly, I'm inclined to believe her, but just because we have seen time and time again in this series, monarchs and just people in general being framed, being lied upon, world government propaganda. We've seen it in Alabasta with Crocodile and King Cobra. We've seen it most recently with we've seen it most recently with Doflamingo and King Riku and stuff like that. So like we know that monarchs have a history in One Piece of being framed, being set up, being lied on. So like I totally believe that like tyrant like Kuma isn't the tyrant that they believe him to be. Also, I'm very curious about like what about his physique and stuff made Vegapunk so interested on experimenting with him? Where did they get the seraphim? Originally I thought it was King, but now there might be a possibility, might be a chance that Kuma might be a giant and a Lunarian kind of hybrid, right? He's massive, so there's definitely like something biologically going on there that I'm interested about. Also, Vegapunk, I just don't get the vibe that he's like this bad guy. It seems like he really, really wants to help the world out, and he only kind of joined the Marine as a means to an end. And I wouldn't be surprised or shocked at all, especially after he made that deal with Kuma to allow him to help out the Straw Hats and stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if that there's some kind of memory storage backup with like Kuma's actual like personality and knowledge and stuff somewhere available. Just because it just seems like something that like Vegapunk would do. Most people that are like anyone that's like a scientist or works on computers or does anything with data, like the sacred rule is to back up your data. So like I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if there was some form of data backup somewhere. Like I mean maybe I'm just being optimistic, maybe I'm being hopeful, but like it just sucks that this is the end for Kuma because as of this moment, like, he's essentially dead. He's just, a zombie. He's a shell of his former self. But like from the sheer fact that Vegapunk has satellites that he's transferred portions of his consciousness or personality too, it I just don't. It doesn't seem like that out there to me. So anyway, while they're having this conversation, Joey Bonnie's digging through like a scrap heap of just random junk and inventions, and she pulls out essentially it's a fucking lightsaber, guys. It's a fucking lightsaber. It doesn't fucking matter. You know it's a lightsaber, and just lets out her anger and just slashes it and destroys all this stuff. And like I'm like, bro, that is awesome. And the fact that like I'm hoping she takes it with her outside of this arc, but like she's gonna be wielding a lightsaber now is gonna be super awesome. I'm also hoping that like off screen, like Luffy, Chopper, and the rest of them all grab a couple things, right? So that would be sick. So anyway, in the next scene, we have the second half of the Straw Hats all arriving to top stratosphere, the highest point of Eggman Island. So it seems like it's broken up into two segments. One is like the in the sky where all the research is done, and then another one is on the bottom where like things are actually made and implemented, right? And so Luffy is on the bottom where things are made, the Fabrio Stratus, where things are made and implemented, and they're at the research lab, which is going to be awesome for people like Frankie and right? And so they're told that that their captain is fucking shit up down there. They kind of get it. They kind of understand, right? And so they're invited to come check things out with them. Zoro and Brooke opt to stay with the ship. At first, I was a little confused why, but honestly, once again, we don't know this girl. We can't trust this girl. So I'm gonna say we're gonna stay by the ship. Make sure that it's all right. Part of me was like, Zoro, you have an obligation as the right hand, kind of watch the crew, but Sanji's going with them, so I think that's just one of those minor things behind the scenes where you kind of interpret that like, despite their feud and whatnot, Zoro trusts Sanji. Look out for the now before they can go in or whatnot. Lilith tells them that they gotta change, and so they all come out in Punk Hazard gear. You got you got freaking Frankie looking insane. He's got one of those, like those twist toys where you twist it and like the thing moves. Like it's more old school like design, but like he has that on his head and like a fucking Cyclops visor. Sanji is kind of like Jinbei in the like vacation dad attire. Got the shorts and the hairy legs out, bro. That's kind of wild. Usopp looks kind of cool. I like his fit a little bit. But then, oh my god, Oda really just loves like exploiting the looks of his women. I'm not mad, but I know certain people will be mad. I think it's hilarious. Nami comes out almost sort of in like the kind of thing that Jory Bonnie was in, where it's just like a top and then like just like underwear and the and the boots. And then, bruh, for a long time I've always been like wishy washy on the Robin versus Nami debate. Something about Robin, bro. Something about Robin, bro. That's a mature fine wine. That's a fine woman right there. Mature fine woman right there. Like Jesus, what is she wearing, bro? That shit looks insane. And Usopp compliments her saying she looks badass. I think look bad. You know what I mean? But she takes the compliment while she's super excited. But yeah, man, there that's interesting. We learn more about the Dom boots. I'm wondering why they're called Dom boots. But also like we find out like they're able to like immediately change your size. So I really, really hope that at some point after the end of this like arc or whatnot, they're able to take a lot of this technology with them. I'm hoping that they're able to take boots with them. Something I forgot to mention with the like the rocket booster and the anti gravity. I'm really hoping that Frankie is able to like equip the Sunny with that kind of thing. Honestly, wouldn't it be super dope if by the end of the series, like the Iron Frankie could make like a Megazord with the Thousand Sunny? Like I'm getting ahead of myself, but I think that would be super awesome. Anyway, we finish off the chapter with Dr. Vegapunk talking to. We don't know who it is at first, but basically he's the thing about, and it's not Dr. Vegapunk, or at least I still don't know if the actual Dr. Vegapunk is alive, but it's the first satellite, the first body, Shaka, and he's like basically the thing about being a genius is knowing when like bad things are gonna happen or knowing your own death. And I don't feel like I'm going to be around much longer. Dragon. So it seems like he's talking to the revolution after Monkey D. Dragon, Dad, and honestly, it goes back to my point where I don't think that he is, this bad guy that actually works for the Marines like without his own purposes, right? And so once again, back to my idea of like there being some kind of backup. Dragon has Kuma right now, the legitimate, actual, real Kuma, and now he's talking to the dude that experimented and like got rid of his like mind and whatnot. So I definitely do think something really, really massive important is going to happen here. Anyway, that's all I have to say on this chapter. I'm just once again super excited for all the developments that are coming. Oda is really, really making it up to us, in my opinion, for like just the lull that Onigashima, not Onigashima, Wano was. Um, I think it's still gonna go down as a good arc, and maybe once I reread, I'm gonna have a completely different view. But I am just so happy that like we're getting back to back to back chapters of just pure awesomeness, and I can't wait to see where Oda. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. This has been Otaku Talk. I'm your host, OD. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and have